Please hang up and try again.
Freak Radio Network, broadcasting from the Lucas Oil Studios. Driven by General Tire. It's Speed Freaks. Motorsports Radio redefined with Kenny Sargent.
We love to party.
Crash Gladys.
What are we doing for the bachelorette party?
And Statman.
I am serious.
Here's the Freaks.
Statman, Crash Gladys, Kenny Sargent, Speed Freaks from the Lucas Oil Studios, FreakNation. For all intents and purposes, your motorsport season is over. And with Formula One closing their doors at Abu Dhabi, depending on where you are tonight, last night, this morning, wherever the hell you're listening to or watching this damn thing, the motorsport season is over. Damn it. Coming up in the show, Ron Capps, who won your third NHRA Funny Car Championship and first one as a team owner. He'll be here in the Freak Nation. Also, Ryan Preece making some noise with StewartHaas Racing, taking over the number 41 for StewartHaas Racing in the Cup Series. A young woman who covers the NASCAR Series for NASCAR Cup Series and Xfinity. Okay, covers NASCAR, Crasher. Yeah. For Racer and Racer.com. Kelly Crandall in here, and Jordan Anderson, Xfinity Series owner and part-time NASCAR Truck Series pilot. He'll be here in the Freak Nation. Statman, do you already have Formula One withdrawals going on, buddy?
No, I lost that a year ago in Abu Dhabi. This whole year has been a little disappointing, and the last couple of weeks have been disappointing. Let's not go into that because the rest of the 2 hours will be taken up with me pissed.
Oh, dropping the P word right there out of the gate.
Yeah, think about that. How far we've come in 1 year, 180 degrees. We were excited for this final race last year, severely disappointed in the result and how they came about the result, and then how they admitted the result. And here we are, frankly, 4 or 5 races ago, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, all of it was, you said, all right, it's buried, it's done, let's move on. And then they start throwing other stuff. They spent too much money. They chase people off the track. Get out of my way. You should have moved over. I was coming through. I'm tired of that. We had that for 5 years in the White House, and I'm tired of that.
Crasher, will Daniel Ricciardo be in an IndyCar part-time next year?
Oh, Jiminy. Oh, you say part-time, though. That does change the question.
It does. Think about our interview with Marcus Ericsson and him trying to... He's
been talking to Daniel Ricciardo.
Right.
Yeah.
Indy 500 winner this year. And his conversation with Ricciardo and trying to convince him to come over and run IndyCar.
Well, it depends on what you say part-time. If he comes and runs one event, is that part-time? Do you have to run 3 events to be part-time? I don't think Daniel Ricciardo, I mean, he's already said, I don't want to do that. I think he
doesn't want to do ovals.
Yeah. Well, but he said, I don't want to do IndyCar. And that's when he still had a chance. Maybe he hadn't talked to all the Formula One owners yet. Maybe after all the Formula One owners said, I'm too busy. Daniel, what else you got? And they said, well, maybe IndyCar's not so bad after all.
Yeah. Will we see him at Laguna Seca? I'm going to say a big fat maybe.
That's just a big wild,
just a total
throwing
wild,
something at the wall, right?
Laguna Seca.
Why not the road course at Indy?
Yeah.
I think he might end up in sports cars before, because there's a lot of factory money in sports cars, and but in IndyCar, there's a lot of guys that are bringing, big pots of money and dumping them on the table. And I don't know that Daniel Ricciardo could do that. But if he knocked on a sports car door, he might end up with 4 or 5 races in sports cars before he end up in IndyCar.
Not to say that Steph Wilson has big gobs of money, because I don't think that is a yes by any stretch of the imagination. But he got an Indy 500 ride solidified earlier than normal this past week, as a matter of fact.
With a team that's used a show car in the past to run an Indy 500 Dryer Ryan Bowl.
Yes, but surprisingly so, that team that's used a show car also put it in the top 10 of that race. That team has had more cars in the top 10 than the big teams like Team Penske and Chip Ganassi Racing in the last 5 years. It's shocking, I know, but look at the stats. Look at the numbers. It's crazy.
All right, Freak Nation.
Talk about Dryer Ryan Bowl, by the way.
Coming up in about 8 minutes, Ron Capps, NHRA Funny Car Champion, will be in here. Your Statman Scat and Ryan Preece. But first, going to bring in some new affiliates in moments.
Speed Freaks, we promise to suck less. Speed Freaks, Motorsports Radio, redefined.
The Freaks.
Welcoming in SportsMap Radio Network. How you guys doing? Speed Freaks on a Sunday night. 22 years, the Lucas Oil Studios. Ron Capps, NHRA Funny Car Champion, first time as a team owner and a driver, and the first one to do it in 20 years back-to-back. Ron Capps will be joining us coming up in about 6 minutes here in the Freak Nation. Also this hour, Ryan Preece, who's now going to be driving the 41. Cole Custer drove it the last 3 years for StewartHaas Racing. Now Ryan,
Wow.
Yeah, now Ryan Preece, who got all his action on a simulator race car. You say simulator race car? Is that what you say?
The sim car? Sim.
Yeah, simulator is what they normally call it. Yeah, simulator.
Ryan Preece will be joining us this hour.
You ever try one of those things? You ever do one of those things?
Yeah, like Main Event or Dave and Buster's.
No.
Yeah, right?
No, that's not. No. You need your own home rig to have an actual simulator.
Or at least access to one. Yeah.
Access to one. Yes.
Right. So, yeah, man, a great couple of hours here. As we said at the top of the hour, for all intents and purposes, our motorsports season is over. I mean, you have, what is it, the Snowball Derby?
It's Yeah, that's January, right?
No.
Is it December?
Well, okay, it's before the freaking Daytona 24-hour. How about that?
Yeah, we need this off season.
Yeah, we do. Given where we are with Formula One, the crap box finish in the last 4 or 5 races, what's transpired with Formula One, 180 degrees from where we were last year.
Oh, yeah.
The finish for the Phoenix Cup race, the championship. Congratulations to Joe Logano, 2-time NASCAR Cup champion. But the whole Ty Gibbs, Coy Gibbs situation, holy smokes. And we'll talk to Kelly Crandall with Racer.com about that next hour. And did we miss anything with that crazy weekend? The ups and downs and ups and freaking downs here in the Freak Nation. And again, if Statman's not talking a lot, it's because he's just a little upset that the Formula One season is over. It's all right, Stat.
No, I'm thinking, when you were talking there, I was thinking about Kyle Larson and how the year has changed perception for everybody in his mind. He was unbeaten for a while, and now he's running into people, knocking them into walls.
All right, Freak Nation.
Just call it pregnancy brain.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is.
I'll do that.
He's got pregnancy
coming
brain.
up, Ron Capps, NHRA Funny Car Star next.
Motorsports Radio, redefined.
Hey, Dad, what are you going to buy at the store today?
I'm out of Lucas Oil fuel treatment, so let's jump in here and grab us some.
Well, do they have the Lucas Oil Parts Cleaner and Degreaser?
I bet they do.
Well, how about the Lucas Oil Power Steering Fluid?
You know, they'll have that too.
Even the Octane Booster?
I won't be surprised if they do.
My favorite red and tacky grease?
Yes, they will, babe.
Dad, when we're done, can we grab some candy?
Deal, but you gotta share.
Awesome! Lucas works.
General Tire was born more than 100 years ago, right here in America. We've spent the last century tackling every kind of road this country has to offer, and especially the places without roads. So you know that with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Lucas Oil, it works. I run Lucas Oil.
It doesn't matter if you're on the water,
Driving to work,
or competing in a sold-out stadium.
Lucas Oil products will help you get the most out of your vehicle.
Monster Jam has run Lucas Oil in and on our trucks for over 10 years.
we wouldn't run anything else.
Lucas Oil, the official oil of Monster Jam.
Crasher, we've been ordering from Omaha Steaks for so long now that we've influenced your family, including your mom. Just before Christmas, bam, right to our front door, we get those juicy steaks, tasty burgers, ready for the holiday season.
It's every season, and you know her favorite, and it's now mine too, chicken cordon bleu. I mean, it's so much more than steaks at omahasteaks.com. Chicken, appetizers, green bean casserole, broccoli gratin, corn. Oh my gosh, the variety is incredible. The quality is second to none, and the convenience?
It doesn't get any more convenient than omahasteaks.com. Use code FREAKS, FREAKS at your checkout and get $30 off your order.
omahasteaks.com. Check out with code FREAKS to be happy.
I could taste them right now. Omaha Steaks, ready to ship your order right away. So shop now. Beat the rush, man.
That's omahasteaks.com. Use promo code FREAKS to check out with $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required.
You're listening to Speed Freaks, Motorsports Radio Redefined.
Lucas Oil Studios, Freak Nation, 22 years, man. And Ron C. Capps has been a part of that for those 22 plus years here in the Freak Nation. 3-time Funny Car champion joining us here in the Freak Nation back-to-back for the first time in 20 years since John Force has done it. And we were talking about this just before we went live, Ron, about it not sinking in. When it sinks in, what does it feel like? I don't know what that means.
It's weird. These moments, been doing media last 2 days, and these moments, like you just reading off all that, it reminded me what went down. I'm so, we've had great moments in my career, and I've always kind of wanted to, Tony Schumacher in the run and all these last minute heroics of drivers on the last round of Pomona winning everything. And I've loved watching it, but I always sort of wanted to be at some point in my career down the road, wanted to do that in that scenario and be involved in that scenario where it came down to it and you actually pull it off, which going into the day, we had a great chance, or let's say a good chance, not a great chance, because Robert Height's team is unbelievable and they're always good at Pomona at that track. So it just seemed stacked against us to pull it off, and the way it ended up. And then you throw the being an owner, and then the first time 20-something years somebody's done it back-to-back, it just every time somebody like you has mentioned it just completely it sinks in a tiny bit. And then I sort of forget about it until I'm walking around the house. I'm like, holy cow, 3 times. And it's just, it's been fun.
So Ron Capps, your 2022 NHRA Funny Car champion 3 times, first time as a team owner and a driver. Some luck had to go your way. Robert Height had to go out. Hagan had to go out. Where were you? Can you tell me where you were or who told you? I imagine you were in the car when Hagan went out and then Height went out. Where were you when those two guys went out first round and then Robert Height later?
I was getting strapped in when Hagan went out. It was first round, and I just all of a sudden all my guys had this because you can't hear. And I heard something, and I heard the crowd kind of roar, but you got your helmet on. And I looked around, all my guys had this kind of look like something dramatic happened. And I knew Robert hadn't run yet. He was behind us, I think. So that's when they said Hagan lost. I went, wow, okay, focus forward, right? And we raced Tim Wilkerson the second round, which I said in my interview with Fox, and I think some people took it the wrong way for whatever reason, but I said, man, and Robert was behind us. So this is second round. We had to keep winning, obviously. And I said, if we can't beat guys like Tim Wilkerson at the Pomona World Finals, we don't deserve to be world champions. I mean, because that's the best of the best, and you've got to go up there and prove you're the best of the best. You can't, to be the champion, you got to beat the champions. And so we had just beat Wilkerson in a very close race. We went low ET first round, went low ET second round, went 385 first round, and I believe we went 86 the second round to beat Wilkerson. And I was getting ready to do the interview, just took my stuff off and put it in the tow vehicle, and I hear a bunch of craziness going on. Amanda Busick runs around the back and she's holding her microphone. She's screaming and yelling. And my guy that drives the car back is beating on the car. And I didn't understand what was going on. And one of my crew guys said, Robert just lost to Tasca. And so I went into like, okay, calm down mode. I've been down this road before.
Oh yeah.
I told all my guys, okay, it's great, but everybody calm down. And when the car left and they towed it away, Amanda looked at me and we got ready to start the interview. And she goes, I can't believe you're the calmest one around here. And I said, I've been here before. I've lost by 2 points. So anyway, that's where I was when Robert lost. And we did the interview as he came around the corner. I didn't even want to go near him because I'd been there before. But I was at the top end of the track when that all went down.
Well, that pretty much answers the first question I wanted to ask you. What did you learn and how were you able to implement what you learned in that battle against Jack Beckman in 2012, where you did lose by 2 points in Pomona? And how did that carry over into how you handled this past Sunday?
Well, I lost to Forrest by less than a round a couple of times before that. Lost to Selzy, my teammate, the 1 year by 10 points or 12 points or 8? No, 6 points. So Beckman 2 points, Selzy 6 points, less than a round.
Wow.
I think all those moments just, maybe not. I might be lying. I just told the media those moments have hardened me and made me better for these moments when they come up again. But honestly, I felt like it was my rookie year and I wanted to throw up, every moment on Sunday, especially going into the Wilkerson's round. And then, once Robert lost, racing Tasca, I mean, those are the biggest moments coming up. And it's just, I don't remember those moments that happened in the past in those moments on Sunday. You're in the middle of it and you're all of a sudden, it's everything to you, everything in that one split second to do everything right. So I don't know that maybe it did help me subconsciously to stay calm. I think over the years I've learned to kind of stay calm in those moments, but inside I'm a mess, honestly.
I can only imagine. Ron Capture, 3-time funny car champion, joining us here in the Freaks Pits. Now back-to-back champions. And you mentioned earlier at the interview, you've always wanted to be in that very last second scenario. Last run, last event. Was it worth it? Was it what you expected? Was it everything that you chalked it up to be in your head?
Oh, Crash. I just wanted to live that moment of the actual moment. I didn't want to go through all the stress crap leading into it, which I was questioning in the car. I'm going, once Robert lost and we were racing Tasca the next round, all we had to do was win that round, right? So you're up there trying to do the same thing. I can tell everybody's a wreck. Guido, his hand was shaking on the injector. We already started. I haven't even told him I noticed this. And I could tell it was a big moment for everybody, right? So then we make that run. We beat him, and I get out of the car, and they can't give me the trophy, and they can't celebrate my being the world champion because there's a silly rule still out there that you can't, if you cross the center line in the final round, between the 1,000-foot, what is our finish line and the old 1320, you lose 5 points. For some reason, that rule was still out there, which a lot of people had forgotten, and I was reminded of. So there's another roller coaster moment added to it, which fast forward to the final round. Do we just hit the gas and shut off and put my hand out the window and coast down and not give the fans what they wanted and collect the world championship? So that was another moment that we had during the day that it wasn't completely over. So there were a lot of different things that just kept going and going and going with these big moments. Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ron Capps. I'm tempted to say I'm glad you're not racing against Max Verstappen.
Yeah.
Third, yeah, you get it. Yeah, 3rd-time champion. I love you, dude. Ever since we played racquetball before the FreakNation started, Robert Height. John Force. I imagine you guys are friends. You might have dinner in the off season. What's it mean to beat Height? Is that going to change your friendship at all?
I probably want to give him a couple months. I've been in that spot. I didn't even go up to him at the banquet. I knew how much it burns. I have sat through so many banquets listening to long, bloated speeches. I know how tough it was for him. So that being said, I'll give him some time, but I know he knows the situation as well. He's been down that road. So it's tough. It is tough. They won 8 races and didn't win a championship. That is bizarro land. I mean, who in the world would have thought that would have happened? So it's crazy. It's the playoffs and it's just craziness. And we were consistently there and we showed up when we had to, and we showed them all we could be those guys when people, started counting us out. We had some big moments of races we won. And somebody in my last interview just said that I didn't lead the points one time all season long until Sunday afternoon when it counted. And that's another crazy stat.
But hold on just a second, though. He can't be mad at you. He can be mad at the system, but he can't be mad at you. I mean, in the past, have you been mad at other drivers or just the system?
Well, for a while, yeah, I'm mad at other drivers, other crew members, other teams. Yeah, at the level that we hate to lose and that we lose and win by fractions of a second that decide our lives and the way our days and nights go. You don't necessarily personally hate them, but you don't want to see the number one on their car. You don't want to go up and hear their speech at the banquet. I mean, you just want to leave. So I've been there, and I don't doubt it. It's the same for them, and I don't blame them. But I also am the first to tell that team how much I respect them. And when we lose to them or we beat them, I always go right over to Robert's team, same with Hagen's, and I tell them how much they raise the bar for us, how much they make us work harder to beat them. When we get beat by them, I tell them how good a run that was and how, hey, hats off, man. And that's the way it is.
So Ron Capps' first year as a team owner, he had a lot of success this year, 5 wins. What do I have here? 3 runner-ups, 6 top qualifiers, your 3rd championship. Is there anything inside of you during this run in the past week that says I should have done this, take over my own team sooner?
Yeah, I wanted to forever, but I think it worked out perfect. I don't think I would have been ready for it. First of all, I wouldn't have had the backing with Napa coming back on board and coming with me, and then Toyota jumping on board, and the way we got that super body that they worked really hard at. None of that. I think it all worked out perfect. I would have loved to, and I look back and I think, man, it's easy to say in hindsight, but I think things worked out perfect. I've gained some knowledge with my older age since then. The pandemic really had a big effect on me and where I was at, and really caused me to make the move, whether I was ready or not. And so it just worked out perfect, I think.
So is Supra, Toyota, are we going to see a Ron Capps funny car in some poster, some showroom to say that if you get a Supra, you could also go 330 miles an hour in a quarter mile?
Well, I don't know about that, but it's a cool car. I'll tell you that much. I was, before this all went down, I didn't pay much attention to the cars like that. And man, the press conference we did in Charlotte, and I got to drive the new Supras, man, I was super impressed with them. So I can honestly say I've got the world's fastest Supra, and it's pretty cool to say that. But just being around that company, the Toyota company, and all the employees and the people at the racetrack is just life-changing. I think I told you that.
Let me cut you off. I'm sorry to cut you off, but let me ask a bit technical question. Is the car that much slipperier, if that's a word, going through the air, that you got into something that maybe gave you a little advantage?
I think with the parameters the NHRA gives with the funny car teams, we can't do a whole lot nowadays. They were given parameters when they built this car from scratch. Slugger Labby and the Toyota people did this car basically from scratch. They got rid of the old car that JR and Alexis and all them ran. So they had to start from scratch, but they also had these parameters that are kept pretty close with all the other manufacturers, very close. It's not like the old days. So what I think is the coolest part is they made it look like a Supra, and that's pretty cool to pull a Supra up next to it. You can't say that about all the funny car bodies out there, unfortunately. So I think they did as good a job they could to make it look like it. But honestly, when we got the body, the work that Guido and Medlin did on it to get to where we were, to get close to where we were and what they were used to in the years before that with the body we had, not knowing exact numbers from the old versus the new, it was all racetrack data. We didn't go to the wind tunnel. They learned, Slugger took it back to the wind tunnel, but Guido and Medlin, and then talking with Jono and Dell, learned a lot from each other. And that accelerated, I think, a lot of what we did. And instantly our car started going the speeds that we ran before, which was 330 plus. So to answer your question, I don't think it's any slipperier per se, or any more downforce or drag to a lot of degree than any of these other bodies out there. But I think that the hard work that we did, we've got some cool stuff that John Medlin and Slugger and all those guys implemented that didn't change the way the funny car body is, but the way we worked with it, I think. That makes sense.
Capps, your 3-time NHRA funny car champion here in the Freaks pits. The last time we had you on, I believe, you had just won Indianapolis, your first U.S. Nationals. All those trophies behind you, which one's Indy?
Indy's out front.
Of course it is.
Along with the 2 championship trophies. My wife doesn't let a lot of race stuff in the house, and those are a couple that get to be in the house, along with the All-Star Shootout belt. Looks like a WWE belt. That's out there. So it's pretty cool to have it out near where we spend a lot of our family time watching TV, and I'll look over and there's a championship trophy sitting there, and it's pretty darn cool to just be sitting there and watching a TV show and look over and seeing what we accomplished in that big trophy. So yeah, it made it to the front room, which I never thought anything in my race stuff would ever make it out there. So that's pretty neat.
Oh, that's amazing.
Ron, you brought it up in the interview about how you could have just laid down against Cruz Pedregon. In fact, I don't even think you needed to make it up to the line, but you gave the fans what they wanted. You went the full 1,000 feet. Be honest with me, man. You guys had to have a conversation about, Ron, what are you going to do here? Was there ever a time when you said, I'm just going to start it up and burn out and that's it?
We got back after that interview of the semis, and I walked right up in and shut the door, and we had a closed door meeting, Guido and Medlin and I, and we discussed it. And the smart thing was to go out there and shut it off and just run it coast. Everybody would understand, right? Because I was only going to win by 3 points, or I could conversely go over the center line, get docked 5 points, and lose a world championship by 2 points again. So we had that meeting, and it would have gone a lot different had I been a hired driver. I promise you, I probably would have been told by the owner to be safe. But Guido looked at me and he said, "You're one of the best I've been around. Step on the gas. If you don't feel comfortable, shut it off. Nobody will even bat an eye. They're not going to have an issue."
I think I heard his computer. Oh, I heard a little boom. Yes.
My laptop just died. Like literally just it flashed a thing and shut off. So anyway, I'm on my phone. I hope you can splice it together.
Yeah,
for everybody watching, hey, everybody at home, make sure your power cord when you're doing these important interviews is plugged into your laptop, because it literally shut off. I've been doing media all morning. But we had a closed door meeting, and Guido just said, "Look, you're one of the best. I'm comfortable with you stepping on the gas. If you don't feel comfortable, shut it off. Nobody will bat an eye. Nobody will worry about what you're doing."
So even when you went over to the wall, you never thought about shutting it off?
Statman, hold on. Let me finish my story. This is where it gets good. So I'm packing my chute, and I see a mutual friend. I say, "Go grab Del Worsham for me." And they're rushing us for live TV, rushing us. And so I see Del coming down from his pit area, and I run up and meet him halfway. In fact, right in front of the Coletta's trailer. And I respect the hell out of Del, and he's one of my favorite people, driver, owner, whatever. And I expressed to him the same thing I talked to Guido and Medlin. I said, "What would your take be?" And he said, "Man, go step on the gas. You're going to know." And I said, "Del, you remember these things. When I run 380 at 335, you're hanging on. And it puts a cylinder out or two. It will shove you over 10 feet. He said, "Yeah, I know, but you're one of the best." He said the same thing Guido said. He said, "Step on the gas." He goes, "Nobody's going to blame you. So I had all that going in my head, right? And went up there. We started the car. I still didn't know what I was going to do. We started the car, and right before that, Guido said, I'm going to try to run quicker than we qualified number 1 on Saturday night, which was 383 track record. And he said, I'm going to try to go 340 miles an hour on this run. So if you stay in it, hang on. And then they started the car, and I went, shit. All right, man, what am I going to do? So I did this big long burnout because I thought I'm going to give the fans, and we don't get to do long burnouts anymore. And I went, heck, I'm going to do a long burnout. So I did way out to half track, and my crew guy that backs me up is run. His hat flies off. He's trying to keep up with me. He's almost falling. I haul ass backwards faster than I'm like old school John Force backing up. And they shut the body. I roll forward. I still didn't know. My intentions were just make a run. But in my head, we checked with NHRA going up there, and I had somebody triple check to make sure the infraction for points only was if I crossed the center line between the 1,000-foot, our finish line, and the 1320. That was the rule. But what would happen if I touched the wall? They said, no points, just DQ the run. Okay. So when I stepped on the gas, it started hauling the mail. The clutch came in sooner than it did Saturday night, which in my head, I went, okay, he's trying to haul ass and run 340 miles an hour. The conditions are there, the track's there. Why not, right? So to be safe, I kind of let the car get over next a little bit to the left of the groove. And I said, okay, I'm going to keep it here. If anything gets weird, I got a little extra room. And unfortunately, that left lane takes you naturally down to the other track to the left. It always has to everybody. So I was ready for it. I was kind of steering into it, but I was over a little bit. And I was just watching the wall, the corner of my eye. And I'm like, I'm going to take it down. I still didn't see Cruz. So in my head, I'm like, if he smoked the tires, they're supposed to hit my ignition button and shut me off. So he must have not smoked the tires, but I don't see him. And I know it's hauling ass. So at the same time, I've got all that crap going on in my head. And, this is a matter of split seconds. I'm trying to make a decision. And it's getting closer to the wall, getting closer, but it's hauling ass. And I still don't see Cruz out my other window. And in my head, I'm also thinking I could be the dumbest guy come Monday morning on the planet in drag racing for going out there and losing a championship because he wanted to make the run. And on top of that, I hate losing the Cruz. So I got all this going on in my brain, and it's hauling ass. And it finally made a little move, and I had to shut it off. And if you watch the TV, the slow-mo, they freeze framed it. And Cruz he's crossed the finish line, and I'm a car length behind him. And then Guido said I shut it off at 850 feet. So would we beat him? I don't know. He made a pretty incredible run at 383. We were right there. If it went 340, who knows, right? Or if it went 339, which we've done before. So that was kind of what was going on in my head. But honestly, back up from the burnout, after doing that long burnout, I remember being a fan in the grandstands and seeing these moments where I wasn't a teammate with Cruz that night, but I've seen teammates take dives, or not make a run because it's a smart thing to do in certain situations. And I know how disappointed fans would be if they didn't see a side-by-side run. So that was my main factor, is to run it down there as far as I could to give the fans that has stuck around all day and not be that guy that came by. Yeah, you won a world championship, but way to shut it off and coast, right? What a wuss. And I didn't want to go through that either. So there were a lot of factors going into that. And the coolest thing ever was all Sunday night. And when I checked in for the awards banquet at our casino hotel, I had crew chiefs and drivers coming up to me and grabbing me, just saying, dude, that was the coolest thing ever. Nobody thought you were going to run it down there. And the fact you stayed on it and it was over next to the wall, to hear another mutual, a crew chief that we race against tell me that was pretty darn cool, and really made it all worth it.
Wow.
Whoa. And by the way, for those of you that aren't quite grasping, everything he just said happened in 3 seconds.
Yeah. Less. Yeah.
Holy cow.
Man.
That's an amazing story.
Dumb, maybe, probably.
Yeah.
But it worked out. I'm talking to you, so it worked out.
If a laptop goes kapoof and the car doesn't go kapoof, everything is fine.
It all worked out.
Yes.
You went the full 1,000 feet with us, buddy.
Yeah.
You crossed the line.
Thank God.
Ron, we're proud of you, man. Happy New Year and happy holidays, buddy.
You too, man. Look forward to seeing you guys. We'll have to get together in the off season.
Definitely.
Thank you, buddy.
You man. See you guys.
The analytic world says the NFL underdogs are the hot number in the NFL this season. The numbers say the underdogs win 2 out of every 3 times against the spread. Odds like that are how they transform the southern Nevada desert into Las Vegas. But I've been saying that in motorsports all season. The old school winners are in the background baying at the checkered flags right now. The new school drivers have locked them in the cold in the backyard, listening to them bay. Fact 3 of NASCAR's Final 4 are under 30, youngsters in racing. In drag racing, the 2 queens of the sport, Erica Enders and Brittany Force, are both under 40. That's young for a sport where champions can dip into the 70s. The Freaks have seen several changes of the guard in our 20-plus years. Seems like we're in the midst of another. And for me, I love every minute of that green light. Peace.
Speed Freaks, Motorsports Radio, redefined.
It's more than just a slogan. General Tire delivers for whatever you do. General Tire's Grabber X3 mud terrain tire offers aggressive styling and is engineered for durability with innovative performance features that are ready to carry you through extreme mud, dirt, and rock-covered terrain. For extreme traction that's ready for anything and rugged styling to match, look no further than the Grabber X3. General Tire delivers for whatever you do. Check out GeneralTire.com today. General Tire, aggressively styling the Speed Freaks since 2001.
Hey, Dad, what are you going to buy at the store today?
I'm out of Lucas Oil fuel treatment, so let's jump in here and grab us some.
Well, do they have the Lucas Oil parts cleaner and degreaser?
I bet they do.
Well, how about the Lucas Oil power steering fluid?
You know, they'll have that too.
Even the octane booster?
I won't be surprised if they do.
My favorite red and tacky grease?
Yes, they will, babe.
Dad, when we're done, can we grab some candy?
Deal, but you gotta share.
Awesome! Lucas works.
Crash, when you and I go holiday shopping for friends and family, well, it's always last minute. But let's help out the Freak Nation with our friends at Omaha Steaks. Beat the rush and check out their large variety of foods.
I like how you outed us right there, Kenny. But I'm sure you're in the same boat that we are. Yep, last minute shoppers. No worries. OmahaSteaks.com. They've got you covered. But it's not just mouthwatering steaks. It's chicken, appetizers, broccoli gratin, corn, green bean casserole. There's something for everyone at OmahaSteaks.com.
Go to OmahaSteaks.com. Use promo code FREAKS and get $30 off at checkout. Butcher's cut filet mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra juicy burgers. Go to OmahaSteaks.com, promo code FREAKS at checkout and get $30 off.
Is your mouth watering yet? Well, Omaha Steaks is ready to ship right now. Beat the rush. Go to OmahaSteaks.com. Use promo code FREAKS for $30 off.
That's code word FREAKS at OmahaSteaks.com. Sharing something you love with the ones you love.
Minimum order may be required.
Back in the day, you guys did everything you could with what you had.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be more fun to take everything we have today and put everything you had over top of it.
How about that? Wow.
MAV TV presents Legacy of Speed. This is the story of the cars, the men who built them, and the men who raced them. This is their legacy of speed on MAV TV, Motorsports Network.
Back with the Freaks, Freak Nation. 22 years of Lucas Oil Studios and the holidays. Christmas right around the corner, and a big fat set of General Tires will look tasty under that tree, right? Think about it. How unique would that? I remember a buddy of mine, his brother got a set of tires under the tree for Christmas one year, and he damn near crapped himself.
You said that last year. I remember you saying that, and I thought,
yep.
Seriously?
Yeah, put some tires under the tree, man.
Yeah,
General Tire. It's winter. Statman can't get out of the house. He's got 6 feet of snow outside of his house in Columbus. He's got him set of General Tires to get his ass out of there. Go to GeneralTire.com. That's GeneralTire.com, or go to SpeedFreaks.tv and hit the General Tire logo and link on our cover page, and it'll take you right to General Tire. Hey,
I will say this, though. If you hit the General Tire link from our SpeedFreaks page, you can also get to their snow tips page, which is pretty awesome. And how use your WeatherTech mats, your whatever mats you have in your car to help you get out even better out of snow and ice situations.
How about just stay in your damn house and eat some freaking Rolos?
Rolos?
Yes.
I haven't heard that candy in a while.
Damn, don't get out.
Rolo.
Anyway, we got about 3.5 minutes to talk about Tony Stewart.
Fine.
You heard Ron Capps we were talking a little bit about the last segment. Tony Stewart, there's a little tease back and forth that, according to Ron Capps, Tony Stewart with the NHRA next year doing something that's bigger than buying the NHRA?
No.
What?
No, that's what Stat and I are speculating. Ron said it's bigger. Wait, Statman just asked him, is he getting in a top fuel car? And Ron said it's bigger than that. So what the heck is bigger than getting in a top fuel car?
Well, I said buying the NHRA, but you guys have seemed to poo-pooed that.
No, I don't poo-poo it at all. The NHRA, like I said, I know the banker who found the money for him to buy Eldora, and he still knows that guy. So, it's not impossible, put it that way. Many years ago, Kenny and I had breakfast with the guy who was running the NHRA then. And when we got finished, we looked at each other and said, they need somebody else making these things.
Did we pick up our breakfast, by the way, or did the NHRA?
Oh, stop.
No, I am sure he did. I'm sure he did.
Wow. I'm sure all the NHRA members paid for me and you to have breakfast.
So what do you speculate, Crash? What's Tony Stewart going to do that's so big next year in or with the NHRA?
I'm sorry, I can't go back to anything more than what Ron said. It's bigger than getting in a top fuel car. What's bigger than that? The shuttle? The shuttle's extinct. Artemis?
Okay.
Going to the moon. I mean, what's bigger than strapping in a top fuel car? Unless we're misunderstanding him on what he means by bigger.
Well, he's a funny car driver, the funny car champion. So maybe he thinks driving a funny car is bigger than driving a top fuel car.
Valid. Okay, so now we're getting back into, will Tony drive? I mean, I guess regardless of what it is, will he drive a full season?
I don't think he has time to drive a full season.
Right.
I mean, between running a racetrack and StewartHaas Racing, he's got one or two other weekends already spoken for.
However, Statman, there's not been a race that I've seen Leah Pruitt without Tony Stewart.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I think the biggest thing is him, if not buying the sport, buying a piece of the sport. Maybe like Lucas Oil is the branding on the Sportsman Series. Maybe Tony Stewart Racing is going to have some branding in the professional side of things in the NHRA.
That's another angle.
The StewartHaas Top Alcohol Series.
No, Haas has nothing to do with the NHRA team.
But Tony Stewart Nitro Series in the alcohol class.
No, it's Nitro.
Yeah, I mean he's now a promoter on CBS with the what do they call that race series that he runs?
Oh, SRX.
SRX. Yeah, so he's
right. He already owns that series. He doesn't want to buy the NHRA.
An all-star NHRA series for maybe 5 or 6 races.
Oh,
yeah. Now that is something that he could afford. Wouldn't have to, dive in. Might be a problem putting it on CBS where he has a lot of interest. But there's also Fox. He knows how to do a TV show, so maybe he's doing a TV show like the IndyCar refuses to do, and NASCAR did poorly, and F1 has made it work.
There you go.
Speaking of Tony Stewart, Ryan Preece now running the 41. Well, okay, next season for the Cup Series, running the 41 for StewartHaas Racing, taking the seat of Cole Custer. Cole Custer goes to Xfinity, and Ryan Preece now in the 41 for StewartHaas Racing. And he joins us next, right here, Speed Freaks Pits and the Lucas Oil Studios.
Speed Freaks, Motorsports Radio, redefined.
Crasher, we've been ordering from Omaha Steaks for so long now that we've influenced your family, including your mom. Just before Christmas, bam, right to our front door, we get those juicy steaks, tasty burgers, ready for the holiday season.
It's every season, and you know her favorite, and it's now mine too, chicken cordon bleu. I mean, it's so much more than steaks at omahasteaks.com. Chicken, appetizers, green bean casserole, broccoli gratin, corn. Oh my gosh, the variety is incredible. The quality is second to none, and the convenience?
It doesn't get any more convenient than omahasteaks.com. Use code FREAKS, FREAKS at your checkout and get $30 off your order.
omahasteaks.com. Check out with code FREAKS to be happy.
I could taste them right now. Omaha Steaks, ready to ship your order right away. So shop now. Beat the rush, man.
That's omahasteaks.com. Use promo code FREAKS to check out with $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required. It's more than just a slogan. General Tire delivers for whatever you do. General Tire's Grabber X3 mud terrain tire offers aggressive styling and is engineered for durability with innovative performance features that are ready to carry you through extreme mud, dirt, and rock-covered terrain. For extreme traction that's ready for anything and rugged styling to match, look no further than the Grabber X3. General Tire delivers for whatever you do. Check out GeneralTire.com today. General Tire, aggressively styling the Speed Freaks since 2001.
Hey, Dad, what are you going to buy at the store today?
I'm out of Lucas Oil fuel treatment, so let's jump in here and grab us some.
Well, do they have the Lucas Oil parts cleaner and degreaser?
I bet they do.
Well, how about the Lucas Oil power steering fluid?
You know, they'll have that too.
Even the octane booster?
I won't be surprised if they do.
My favorite red and tacky grease?
Yes, they will, babe.
Dad, when we're done, can we grab some candy?
Deal, but you gotta share.
Awesome! Lucas works.
Back in the day, you guys did everything you could with what you had.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be more fun to take everything we have today and put everything you had over top of it.
How about that? Wow.
MAV TV presents Legacy of Speed. This is the story of the cars, the men who built them, and the men who raced them. This is their legacy of speed on MAV TV, Motorsports Network.
FreakNation, Lucas Oil Studios, 22 years of doing this thing, and this is the first time Ryan Preece has joined us here in the FreakNation, and it takes Ryan Preece joining up with a FreakNation fave, Tony Stewart, StewartHaas Racing, for the Cup season and number 41 next year for 2023. And Preece, so much to your backstory, man, is bonkers. We had no idea that you were in the simulator 24/7 helping out other StewartHaas Racing drivers. We know of your tenure in Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, some Cup races. How did this come about? Were you kicking ass on the sim and they said, man, we got to get your ass in the 41?
Man, I did a great job. I smoked everybody in the simulator. You wouldn't even believe. But no, to be honest with you, that was part of it. That was kind of getting my foot in the door. But believe it or not, I feel like I'm pretty good at real life racing. You know, when it comes to whether it comes to Xfinity cars, trucks, modifieds, late models, whatever it may be, I've been successful at it. So, but yeah, mainly this year, I gotta say I have a lot of experience in the simulator.
Ryan Preece joining us here in the FreakNation. In case you haven't seen it or heard about it, FreakNation, he's taken over the 41 from Cole Custer in the Cup Series with StewartHaas Racing, joining us here in the FreakNation. Did you have an inclination a couple of months, a month ago, a week ago, that this was going to happen? And was that the whole reason why you spent so much time in the sim, was to prove your wares that you deserve a Cup ride, Ryan?
Well, it all started, I didn't have any idea of what my career path was going to be after November of last year. You know, I ran full time for JTG for 3 years, and we were parting away. They were shutting down the 37, and there was other opportunities to go out there and be a part of the show, but my goal as a race car driver is to win races and to put myself in the best position to do that. So wasn't really sure, and the opportunity came about to run part-time in Xfinity Truck Cup, and as well as do simulator work for SHR and Ford Performance. So I took that opportunity and continued to do that throughout the year. We did win at Nashville, but man, to be honest with you, I really didn't know if this was all really going to happen. I mean, really, until I signed the contract last night or even this morning, to be honest with you. So it was a very, very sudden thing, and things moved really quickly. But I'm thankful to have guys like Tony and Kevin and believe it or not, Greg Zippadelli, who runs basically the show for them. He's from Berlin, Connecticut, and so am I. There's a lot of things that we can talk about from a local standpoint, and I have a lot of respect for everybody at SHR. It's a race team full of racers, and I've been lucky enough to already been a part of the process and been around the shop for the past year and gotten to know a lot of those guys. And one of those guys happens to be a local modified legend, Reggie Ruggiero. He's a really good fabricator himself, and he was just telling me he's pretty much keeping me level.
Oh,
you got to love it when people try to call you, but yeah. So, but yeah, no, it's been a lot. It's been great to be a part of so far.
Ryan, in your role, of course, Ryan Preece, newly minted in the number 41 for the 2023 Cup season with StewartHaas Racing. In your role this past year, who did you have the greatest communication with? Because what you were doing was crucial to what the guys would then experience on the track. And when they would have issues, as we saw with Kevin Harvick and some of the other guys, then it would come back to you to help them alleviate some of those problems. I mean, you could only go so far as the alleviations, but who was the best person that you could communicate with in order to keep everything on track for StewartHaas this year?
Yeah, so Kevin's somebody that I've had that relationship with, and there was a team that was pretty much dedicated to the simulator, so there was a lot of communication from there, and our team was a part of those conversations every week on Tuesdays post race. How off could the simulator be? What could be better? Kind of trending in those areas, so we can go to work on that. And I felt like there was a lot of things, a lot of parts and pieces that go into the sim work, like tire modeling or aero model, and different like a variety of choices for them. And we started narrowing in on what seemed to be the best, and we just worked on that throughout the year and got it closer and closer each and every week.
Do you think, Ryan, that because of being so micro-focused on this next-gen car this past year, that you have a leg up versus any other Cup opportunities you've had in the past? You have a leg up now in 2023?
Well, I definitely think there's a lot to talk about when it comes to tools as a race car driver. And one of those tools is having the support from an OEM like Ford and having the ability to go to the simulator or be, all the tools that I've seen that I've been around this past year have just allowed me to do what I feel is a better job as a race car driver. And so, yeah, I feel like I definitely have a leg up going into next year.
Wow. Ryan Preece, you see that blue oval on his shirt? He's going to StewartHaas Racing, the number 41. Just signed the contract early this morning, late last night, whenever it was. Ryan, you worked a lot on the simulator like we've been talking about. What'd you find out about this next-gen car that solves some of the problems that everybody else has been complaining about?
Well, we're continuing to work through those things, but what I will say to you is that the old cars used to be on the ground. They were on the earth. We're talking thousands of an inch off the ground, where now we have rub blocks, we have shock limiters that only allow us to travel so far. And when you're going 180 miles an hour and your car's still basically like an inch off the ground, it just creates a whole lot of different handling issues. And so we're just working through some of those things.
Wow. you stopped right there, dude. You must have gotten charged. So you were on the way to giving us too much information.
Yeah.
I'll let you get away with that. That's fine.
You like how I cut it right there?
Yeah, man.
You want to know what the racer in me, I like to get into a lot of depth and of those things, but I also understand you got to withhold some things, right? I'll keep you guys wondering.
Ryan, that's more than fair, partner. I was just wondering how long you were going to go on this off ramp if we were going to get down to the stop sign, and evidently we did.
We hit it hard.
Yeah,
just like when my wife is driving, when she's getting to a stop sign, she doesn't gradually hit the brake pedal; she slams on it. And I'm wondering if we're just going to go through it or not. It's kind of a guessing game every time we go to a stop sign.
Let me ask you a different question altogether. You'd had some experience in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Series. I went through a period of time when I thought about maybe getting a modified car, and then I took 2 aspirin and slept it off. What is it about the Modified Series that a lot of drivers go through it and they like it, and it's the destination series for some pretty good drivers?
Yeah, so it's just I'm from Connecticut, and the Whelen Modified Tour is based out of New England and the East Coast. So it was just Stafford Motor Speedway, Thompson Speedway, Riverhead, all places where I'm a champion. They were all within an hour and a half of my house, so it was just convenience more than anything. And I mean, when you look at a modified, it's just a badass race car. So, why wouldn't you want to drive it?
Yeah, exactly. I have a cousin who does television work for Stafford and Thompson. He talks about going there all the time. I don't know if you know Mark Chavis, but he's done a lot, and he's talked about a lot of drivers there and the success they've had and how much he loves it. The modifieds, the super modifieds in particular in New England, they have the floppy wing, an arrow wing. That is, I love those cars. It's stunning. It's like stupid how fast they are. Did you ever drive one of those?
I actually have. I did drive. I practiced a super modified one time, and man, it's one of those race cars, kind of similar to what they say when a USAC midget is really hooked up. When the right front is hiking the wheel off the ground down the straightaway, that's what that was doing in that super mod. So it was a little different, but man, they are fast.
Yeah, and there's no sim for those, is there? I mean, especially with the engine flopped over and you sit straddling the drive shaft almost. It's an incredible car.
Yeah. I think I don't think I could duplicate something like that. But I would imagine if you were going to do something crazy, it would have to be like some old school go-kart where your head used to stick out. Then you'd have to put some sort of wing on top of it, because that's what it would feel like.
Just get the goddamn dryer and let the dryer roll you around a few times, Preece.
Oh.
Yeah, we could do that too.
Right?
That would be right. Yeah.
Ryan Preece taking over that 41 for StewartHaas Racing in 2023. You brought up Stafford. You brought up your wife. And earlier in this interview, you said, when we were talking about the sim, of course, you said, I'm a pretty damn good race car driver, a regular race car driver too. Would your wife say that? I want to know how competitive you guys are. You met at Stafford. You raced against each other. Would she say the same thing?
Yeah, you definitely did your research here, because this is a question that I don't get asked often, but when I do, she's very competitive, and I actually raced against her. She was a rookie of the year in the modifieds, and there was a few arguments on the way home, but I'm going to speak for her, and I think she'd say I'm a pretty good race car driver.
Can you turn the phone to her and see her head? Is she saying yes or no?
Is she right there?
No, she's not here.
Okay.
That's how he could say that. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Now, hold on. Your story is just fantastic, though, on how you bet on yourself. Gosh, what are we talking now? 5-6 years ago, you mortgaged your house in order to get a ride with Joe Gibbs Racing at the time. Was she with you during that? Because talk about stress in a marriage. Holy
well, she didn't really know. So that was great to find out when that was in the article the other day. But No, she knew. She knew in the sense of the risk that I took financially to get that opportunity. But it all paid out now, right? Like we went from, we have our house and land, we have horses, which she's always loved animals, which a lot of our animals are rescues, believe it or not. But we were in a small condo in Broadbrook, Connecticut. So it's all worked out now. And I'm sure you guys have similar stories of if you aren't willing to risk something, then it usually doesn't pay off, or you don't end up where you want to be. And I've never really been somebody that isn't willing. I'm willing to risk whatever it takes to succeed and accomplish the goals that I've always wanted to accomplish.
You're with Tony Stewart.
When you did mortgage the house, was it tough to look at your bank account because there might be a single digit, a $5 bill or $2 in that bank account?
I got to be honest with you. The couple credit cards were in debt for quite a while. And I did. There was another thing to that story. If you find the practice from Iowa, I had wore out shoes that had holes in them, and they wouldn't let me practice. So I actually, earlier in that week, I had to go buy some shoes, which I used my wife's credit card for at the time. So there's a lot more to this story than most people will probably ever know, but that's what's also made my wife and I so strong and who we are as people.
Holy smokes. Any children? Well, they went.
Don't you dare ask the kid question.
Any children?
Yeah.
Preece,
Children. We have a lot of animals, I can tell you that. I'm not even going to start listing off all the animals, but my wife, she loves them. And, anytime she sees these rescue posts on Facebook, I keep telling her to stop following them because we keep on adding them. But that's basically like our kids.
Well, the reason I asked that is because your boss, Tony Stewart, on this show a couple of times has said, if and when he and Leah Pruitt decide to have a baby, he is not going to be in the delivery room and cut the umbilical cord. Can you straighten that out with your boss and say, bro, it's a once in a lifetime experience. You need to cut the umbilical cord?
Why is Ryan going to straighten it out with them?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not even. I'm kind of like in the same thing as him right now. I don't even know what to say.
That's
I'm
probably
Team Tony right now.
Yeah, that's probably pretty smart. And last thing, man, if you look on Berlin, Connecticut's Wikipedia page, there is a driver that's listed on there, and it's Ryan Preece as a notable person. There's not a Zipadelli on there, and that dude's won multiple freaking Cup championships.
Yeah.
Why don't you go in there and puff your chest up in front of Zipadelli, say, look at this wiki page, bro, I'm on and you're not.
I might just go add him on there. I think that's what you can do, right? You can get on Wikipedia and add people or do things like that. But it's I love my hometown. I've always enjoyed the people, the restaurants, and it's a small I mean, everything. Connecticut's pretty small, but it's just a small town, so everybody knows everyone. And that's another thing. When I've won some of these races, they hang banners. They're proud of it. So hopefully this year we can try to hang some banners on the bridge across from Tavern on the Tracks. That's my go-to restaurant in Berlin.
Oh.
Well, did you donate your shoes with holes in them to that tavern?
No, they're somewhere, I'm sure. Somewhere. Yeah. I don't even know where they are.
Awesome. You autograph those, you can raise money for any animal charity you want and make a pretty good amount. That's a huge thing. Yeah.
Well, buddy, this is fantastic, man. Again, your boss, Tony Stewart's been coming to FreakNation for probably part of this 22 years from the beginning. And when you have three crap starters, including Tony Stewart, we get a lot of things done. And we appreciate what he's done for us and the fact that you're part of that team. It's badass, man. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. And I know Irish would appreciate your hat right now. So I don't know if you know Irish Saunders, but he's been somebody that's really that Tony knows well, but he's been somebody that supported me a lot in my racing career as well. That's badass. Good to hear it. Ryan, thanks for doing this, bud. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
More.
Good luck, man.
Thank you.
Please hang up and try again.
Radio Network, broadcasting from the Lucas Oil Studios. Driven by General Tire. It's Speed Freaks. Motorsports Radio redefined with Kenny Sargent.
We love to party.
Crash Gladys.
What are we doing for the bachelorette party?
And Statman.
I am serious.
Here's the Freaks.
Freak Nation, this hour, a very special second hour of Speed Freaks. Jordan Anderson, Xfinity Series team owner with Myatt Snyder, and a part-time Truck Series driver. He'll be joining us this hour. You may remember his accident where he caught on fire. His truck caught on fire, and as he's headed to the wall, he's climbing out of the car. So Jordan Anderson will join us this hour. Also, a great interview with Kelly Crandall. We met her for the first time. Met her for the first time after reading her work and knowing who she is for a year. And finally, we get her in the Freak Nation. She's with racer.com. Great insight to NASCAR. Great follow on Twitter. If you're a NASCAR fan, a motorsports fan, be sure to follow Kelly Crandall. She'll be joining us at 12 past the hour. You got your Stat Man Scat. Be sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook.
Are you okay, though?
Instagram.
Both of you guys, I should ask you this.
Right.
Are either one of you guys okay that Kelly Crandall is a Steelers fan?
Yeah, because they're trash this year.
Oh, okay.
They suck.
Because you, Mr. Cowboys fan, can't stand the Steelers. Statman, Mr. Browns/Bengals fan, can't stand the Steelers. So, okay.
I'm good with that.
All right.
Now, she's allowed. I mean, she's got skeletons in her closet.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, Freak Nation. Be sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And hello to all you watching us on YouTube and Facebook Live on Worldwide Technology Raceways Facebook page. You've got MAV TV, Lucas Oil, Speed Freaks Facebook page, and, of course, YouTube. How you guys doing, man? And you look at the 2022 motorsports season. Formula One wrapped up this weekend at Abu Dhabi, but the championship clinched. Verstappen clinched it. How many races ago, Stat? 4? 5?
17 or 18. Wasn't it last March or May, somewhere around there?
Yeah, he clinched 2022 at the end of 2021.
Yeah, I mean, the way they gave him 2021, he might well have clinched the next 2 or 3.
And before you know it, that second weekend of January, we'll be into the 2023 Supercross season.
And Chili Bowl. They both start that weekend. That's
no.
insane. Yeah.
Do they?
I believe.
The car is in there somewhere.
Oh,
too.
yeah. NASCAR Rally.
Yeah, before you know it, man, we'll be right back into 2023. And again, if you're covering NASCAR, IndyCar, NHRA, those seasons begin and end at certain times. But damn it, if you're covering all motorsports, it starts the first week of January and then ends damn near the last weekend of November for us.
December's not a month off either. We do have the PRI show, which will provide a slew of interviews and driver announcements and sponsor announcements. And yeah. So,
and the very few things beat Anaheim 1.
Yeah,
Supercross.
Yep.
I mean, that was more than welcome. That was a crazy weekend. I loved Anaheim 1.
That's a great point because we're again cooped up for a few weeks, and then bam, you blow it out with Anaheim 1 with a sold out stadium and with the production that Feld Motorsports provides for Supercross. That's right, Stat. It's a great feeling to have. Like the first motorsports event that I'm going to have is going to be Supercross. And we were up there with the VIPs where who knows who we're going to see up there in the VIP area.
Yeah. And also I remember being up there when they had that New England Patriots and who was it? The Raiders, that what was that penalty that wasn't called
on Brady?
On Brady. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We were up there for that. That's true. There's always either an NFC or AFC championship game or something going on that Saturday night.
Well, that's Anaheim 2, usually, the championship games.
And Brian Herta paying off his bet, showing his bald head to the stat man. Yeah, I mean those were always good. Those were always good weekends.
The Tuck rule. The Tuck rule. That's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Freak Nation, coming up. Kelly Crandall with Racer.com. She'll be joining us here in the Freak Nation. Also, Jordan Anderson, Xfinity Series team owner and part-time NASCAR Truck Series driver. He'll be joining us here in the Freak Nation. But we're going to bring in another round of affiliates and get right back at it for this big, fat radio show on YouTube and Facebook.
Speed Freaks, we promise to suck less. Speed Freaks, Motorsports Radio, redefined.
The Freaks.
Welcoming in SportsMap Radio Network for the second hour. How you doing, buddies? Crasher, that man, Kenny Sargent, Suave. We haven't talked about Suave. Suave taking 4 or 5 days off. I thought it was because he's camping out in different regions of the country trying to get Swifty tickets.
He's trying to get the Rams' terrible season squared away in his mind. He had other things planned for the Rams season.
True.
The year.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and hello to you guys watching us on YouTube, Facebook Live on many pages, and of course on Twitch.
And he's also vibing and dancing to the Rams.
Well, he is in Las Vegas, by the way. He caught a Phoenix Coyotes Knights game.
Arizona Coyotes.
What did I say?
Phoenix.
Wow.
They
Arizona
changed the name
Suns.
a long time ago.
Phoenix Cardinals.
There you go. Yeah. You know.
Oh, my gosh. That's awesome. I did teach him how to play craps. And he knows to roll up the table and just go 689, 689.
You tried to teach me, too. Oh, well.
Until your freaking rent money was taken away in about a matter of 13 seconds.
Exactly. That man reached over there and said, give me that.
Yeah. And you could win a lot of money fast, but like stats, you could lose a lot of money quicker.
It comes and goes pretty quick.
Oh, it sure does. Well, Crash, you ever tried to play craps?
Yes, with you, and I still couldn't grasp it. I like watching when it's a fun hot table, but yeah, forget it.
It is. Losing in anything sucks.
Yes.
But losing in craps is double suck. But winning is triple awesome badassery. Yeah, okay, it's greatness.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not advocating gambling, although I do gamble. I don't know what that means. All right, we're going to get right back at it with Kelly Crandall from Racer.com. Coming up next here in the Freak Nation.
Speed Freaks, Motorsports Radio, redefined.
Crasher, we've been ordering from Omaha Steaks for so long now that we've influenced your family, including your mom. Just before Christmas, bam, right to our front door, we get those juicy steaks, tasty burgers, ready for the holiday season.
It's every season, and you know her favorite, and it's now mine too, chicken cordon bleu. I mean, it's so much more than steaks at omahasteaks.com. Chicken, appetizers, green bean casserole, broccoli gratin, corn. Oh my gosh, the variety is incredible. The quality is second to none, and the convenience?
It doesn't get any more convenient than omahasteaks.com. Use code FREAKS, F-R-E-A-K-S at your checkout and get $30 off your order.
omahasteaks.com. Check out with code FREAKS to be happy.
I could taste them right now. Omaha Steaks, ready to ship your order right away. So shop now. Beat the rush, man.
That's omahasteaks.com. Use promo code FREAKS to check out with $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required. It's more than just a slogan. General Tire delivers for whatever you do. General Tire's Grabber X3 mud terrain tire offers aggressive styling and is engineered for durability with innovative performance features that are ready to carry you through extreme mud, dirt, and rock-covered terrain. For extreme traction that's ready for anything and rugged styling to match, look no further than the Grabber X3. General Tire delivers for whatever you do. Check out GeneralTire.com today. General Tire, aggressively styling the speed freaks since 2001.
Hey, Dad, what are you going to buy at the store today?
I'm out of Lucas Oil fuel treatment, so let's jump in here and grab us some.
Well, do they have the Lucas Oil parts cleaner and degreaser?
I bet they do.
Well, how about the Lucas Oil power steering fluid?
You know, they'll have that too.
Even the octane booster?
I won't be surprised if they do.
My favorite red and tacky grease?
Yes, they will, babe.
Dad, when we're done, can we grab some candy?
Deal, but you gotta share.
Awesome! Lucas works.
Back in the day, you guys did everything you could with what you had.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be more fun to take everything we have today and put everything you had over top of it.
How about that? Wow.
MAV TV presents Legacy of Speed. This is the story of the cars, the men who built them, and the men who raced them. This is their legacy of speed on MAV TV, Motorsports Network.
Lucas Oil Studios, 22 years of doing this thing, and when we hit January 1st, that man, I think we should say 23 years of doing Speed Freaks.
Without question. Once you get halfway, you round it up.
Lucas Oil has been with us for damn near all of those 22 and a half years. Go to lucasoil.com. That's lucasoil.com to find the right products for your righteous ride. Keep your car fat and happy, or your cars, your boat. Whatever you got with an engine, man, Lucas Oil has a product to keep your rides fat and happy. Now, as I was saying earlier, Kelly Crandall joining us here in the Freak Nation with Racer and Racer.com. Her first time in the Freak Nation, and it's tough for me to recognize Kelly Crandall if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook Live. If you're listening to it on one of the many affiliates, sorry about that. Usually we see Kelly Crandall with headphones on. Crandall, you look great without headphones on this time.
Man, all it takes is headphones, and that's an easy disguise, huh? I didn't even have to try that hard. Yeah, that, as I told you before, that's what keeps me out of trouble. You just put the headphones on and you tune everybody out. So that's my magic power.
Yeah, that's a great point. Kelly Crandall, of course, who covers NASCAR and then dabs some other motorsports for Racer.com, joining us here in the Freak Nation. When you walk by her in the media room, she's got these headphones on. Again, she doesn't want to hear all the bull going on around her, so she keeps her mouth shut. So there's a little bit of too much information, right?
Sometimes. I'm human. I get sucked into it too, but I'm learning. Just keep the headphones on at all times, and yeah, you can avoid all of that.
Kelly Crandall is a great follow on Twitter for your NASCAR insight. And looking back at the 2022 season, it seems like we've got more than a handful of highlights, Kelly Crandall. And again, it seems like half of those came from Phoenix. But looking at what happened for the 2022 season and all the firsts for NASCAR, what's the one or maybe two things that stand out for you that NASCAR either accomplished or got wrong throughout the season?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, it's a long list. I feel like this was a season where the headlines were endless, right? And whether it was talk around the car, whether it was talk around first wins, what the car was doing, injuries, new racetracks, parity, the list goes on and on. So I think what they got right was start with the car. I think the car did a tremendous job on intermediate racetracks, which is what they were going for, because there's been so many complaints over the years about 1.5 miles and dirty air and not a lot of action. So I felt like the car did a really good job on intermediates of spicing it up a little bit. But what they got wrong was they somehow managed to make a car that is like a sports car, but didn't perform well on sports car type racetrack, which would be road courses. So they got that wrong. If you want to go a little bit deeper, I think what they got wrong was maybe just the communication with its teams. We heard as the season wound down of just drivers being unhappy with what they viewed was the lack of communication. But then you also have Jeff Burton, who fired back and said the communication was there. Some drivers didn't pay attention. So like I said, the headlines were endless. I think in a broader sense, again, to your question, talking about what they got right, I think overall they got this car right. I really, really do. I think there's a lot good about this race car that maybe got overshadowed because we had the injuries that we had to deal with, and again, the bad racing on road courses, the bad racing on short tracks. But I think by and large, NASCAR can look at this year and say they got a lot of things right because, again, you had first-time winners. You had a lot more parity in the top 10. You had a lot of different drivers and different teams coming to the top of the leaderboard. So to me, I feel like this car was the highlight for NASCAR. It was the thing that they got right.
You know, Kelly, I think it's interesting how you say the bad racing on road courses. And yeah, I would agree with you on that. But the flip side view of it is that I've never had more non-NASCAR fans talk to me about NASCAR races than they did after Indianapolis or Road America. So in a sense, what's bad for us is good for the non-fan?
Well, I think what ended up happening is that, like a lot of races, and Martinsville too, if you want to talk about short tracks, is we all have very short memories because we watch these races or we cover these races and the first 490 miles are terrible, right? And then something happens in that last little bit, whether it's at Road America and it's Tyler Reddick winning his first race, or it's Indianapolis and the craziness that happened there with turn one being an absolute disaster of a corner for all of the carnage, right? Or even go to Phoenix, right? And Ross Chastain getting into Chase Elliott, or Martinsville, Ross Chastain and his video game move. I think by and large, if you look back at all of those races, there's nothing memorable about those races except for one incident that suddenly everybody remembers and say, like, remember Indy? Remember Martinsville? And it's like, no, I don't, because those races sucked. But it was one moment that stands out that gets everybody's attention, or it goes viral on social media. And then to your point, you have all of these people, whether it's NASCAR fans or others, that just see a 10-second highlight and can't believe what happened. So listen, I think NASCAR will take it, right? They'll take any attention no matter how it comes. But it's that first, like I said, 490 miles that everybody wants to forget.
So true. I know that Statman wants to get back to some more NASCAR and next gen car talk with you, but I want to do kind of an overall motorsports question with you. Who do you think got it right more over this last season? Did NHRA do more right? Did NASCAR do more right? Did IndyCar do more right? Did sports cars do more? Who do you think had an overall most successful season this past year?
So to be fair, I mean, that's hard for me to answer because I'm not as well versed, or really I don't really dig into other series as much as I do NASCAR or even NHRA now. I think again, if you were to break it down, NASCAR got it right because their ratings are either staying the same, or I think actually they grew the Fox portion. I don't know about NBC, but the Fox portion, their ratings increased, I think, by 4%, right? And we talked about the car. NHRA is doing, I feel like, a fantastic job of capitalizing on whether it's Tony Stewart coming in or all the work and everything Toyota has done to put their drivers out there. They've had fantastic championship battles the last couple of years they've been able to capitalize on. So I feel like they're on an upward trajectory. But as far as other motorsports, it wouldn't be fair for me to say, because like I said, I don't live in that world. I think, listening to a Connor Daly talk about IndyCar, I mean, IndyCar, I feel like has a lot going for them. I feel like they're exciting. They've got a lot of great personality. I watch IndyCar races, but to hear someone like a Connor Daly talk about why can't we get ratings, that's confusing to me, because I feel like, as I just said, they've got a lot going for them as well. Formula One, I mean, that's just above my pay grade. I think the Netflix series, as everybody will tell you, has certainly helped when it comes to the U.S. audience, and look at everything they're now doing with COTA and Las Vegas and Miami. But I don't know if I could really say who's done it the best or who had the best year. I think you really, to be fair, have to kind of break it up into their own little sections of what they were trying to accomplish, or what their fan base is, and their individual ratings and so on, and see, okay, compare it to themselves from years past.
Kelly Crandall was one of the great reads in motorsports. Racer Magazine, Racer.com. You mentioned bad racing. What's bad racing? And can that be solved by making the races shorter?
Oh, well, I'm all for shorter races. I think when it comes to NASCAR, there should maybe be only a handful of 500-mile races, right? You look at Daytona 500, that's a staple. The Southern 500, the Coke 600, of course, is 600 miles. So I think you can pick out a handful of races that should stay 500 miles. But if it was up to me, I always say, if I'm fantasy booking the NASCAR schedule, I'm chopping it almost in half. I don't think that a lot of these races that have 2 races should have 2 races. And I think you cut 100 or so miles off of a lot of them. So, which is easy for me to say, right? It's easy for me to spend other people's monies and take their contracts away. So yes, I would cut the races. I think that would help. Bad racing. So that is in the eye of the beholder, right? Everybody has a different opinion of what bad racing is. To me, it has nothing to do with if there's crashes or controversy. To me, bad racing is just watching cars, if we're talking about NASCAR, just literally go in circles and do nothing, right? There's no passing. There's no tire fall off. There's no comers and goers, as we say, of drivers at the front that go to the like. That to me is bad racing. If I can see that a Denny Hamlin or a Kyle Larson or somebody has a really fast race car and they can't drive through the field, that's a problem. If there's no tire fall off to where you're literally just running as hard as you can until the next pit stop and you're going to throw some more tires on it and do it all again and nobody has to manage their equipment, that bugs me as well. I think that's terrible racing. So there's a few different variables there, but to me, it all comes down to action. Is there action throughout the field? Again, there doesn't have to be cautions and crashes and things like that, but is there passing? Is there repass? Can you repass someone? So that's what I always say is there action? Is there things happening throughout the field?
It sounds like you and I could have a spectacular conversation about that. We here in the Freak Nation, we've had that same conversation over and over and over again. I think that the cars are too easy to drive and that the drivers just put their foot to the floor and steer. I think if they had to brake and accelerate and change gears and force guys to drive, you could separate from the guys that are just out there whistling a happy tune and the guys who are trying to get to the finish line first. That sounds like bad racing to me. Am I right in listening to what you're saying here?
Yeah, I think you have a point there because one of the things I've always said and I've always respected when Carl Edwards is around and Brad Keselowski's the same way is that these race cars should not be easy to drive. These race cars should be hard. They should be on edge. It should come down to what the driver can do behind the wheel. I don't think next gen is easy to drive. I think my uneducated, non-technical self, I think just listening to drivers and teams that obviously shifting came into play this year, which I think took some people by surprise, especially when it became something that drivers were doing every single weekend. And even on short tracks like Martinsville, right? I mean, go back to the spring Martinsville, that was just absolutely terrible. And it had terrible weather and it was a night race and absolutely no tire fall off. And we got to Martinsville and everybody was shifting in practice. And literally within 5 minutes of that first practice, everybody was going, well, this is different. And from what I understood is when everybody is shifting, you're basically eliminating driver mistakes because you could just, if you make a mistake in the corner, you just grab a gear and drive off the corner, right? You're not paying for that mistake. The guy behind you can't capitalize on that. So I think shifting came into play this year and that kind of, again, took away some of the driver error. I think also listen, there's always going to be dirty air in racing and aerodynamics is a word you're always going to hear in racing. Dirty air and these cars in dirty air continues to be a problem, right? So that comes into play. So I don't necessarily want to say that the cars are are easy to drive, because early in the year, you know, we heard a lot of drivers talk about how they're now kind of on that razor's edge, where this car, if it gets away from you, it won't save you, in the sense of, with the Gen 6 car, they could get loose or they could drive it off the right rear tire, but the car would catch itself before it spun around. Well, with next gen being a symmetrical body, they can't drive it off the right rear anymore. So you don't have drivers who can go in there and drive it looser and hang that right rear out. But that also means that there's no room for error, because again, if next gen, according to the drivers, as soon as you make a mistake and you cross that line, it's spinning out. And I think this year, I don't have the numbers, but I would be curious to go and find it to see how many drivers spun out on their own this year just because the car got away, or how many drivers got loose and went up and bounced off the wall because they couldn't catch the car. So I think there's a few variables, like I said, of what goes into it. I don't agree that I would say that the cars are easy to drive. I think the cars are harder to drive, but then there's other variables that also come into play that kind of eliminate how much the driver can do behind the wheel.
The biggest thing, Kelly Crandall, about the new car is the safety issue. And if that's the case, that's the case. But I think some of that problem is maybe the soft wall technology. We haven't talked about that much, but it's been around for more than 20 years. And I don't know what the maintenance has been on some of those walls, but maybe those soft walls aren't as soft as they used to be.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Justin Haley brought that up at Indianapolis, I think it was. And he said that one of the things that drivers, according to Haley, was that drivers were questioning about kind of the life expectancy, I guess you would say, of the safer barriers. How much and how many times do they have to be replaced, right? Think of all the tracks that are in different parts of the country that go through different weather changes, right? So does that come into play? When I checked in with NASCAR, they said that every 5 years, the foam basically gets replaced, right? Because they work with, I think it's the University of Nebraska. So they're going off of everything that they've learned with them and that technology. So the safer barriers are an interesting piece. To me, in everything I've learned this year and all the interviews that I've done and the stories that I've written, two things stood out. One is, I do think this car, personally, from, again, interviews that I've done, I do think this car is safer than the last car, because this car was built, and Steve O'Donnell will tell you this, and I just did a story with Cody Ware, who said the same thing. This car was built for the catastrophic crashes. So Ryan Newman at Daytona in 2020, Joey Logano flipping over at Talladega last year and landing on his roof. Cody Ware at Texas was a catastrophic accident, right? I think the numbers were that he hit the wall at 160 miles an hour. That was a head-on impact. If you go back and look, you can see the entire front of his car was crushed, right? So this car was built with that in mind. And I think it's worked because, again, just looking at a Cody Ware and listening to him and the time that I spent with him, who knows how much worse that crash could have been in the Gen 6 car, right? And you look at NASCAR gave me the numbers and said that Cody Ware's crash was the largest frontal impact they have recorded since they started keeping a crash database in 2011, right? And he walked away with just an ankle injury, no concussion, no other broken bone. Like he, lost his breath, obviously, because when you have an impact like that, you're going to lose your breath. But for him to just have to recover from an impaction fracture and some torn ligaments in a crash like that, I think shows a catastrophic crash that car was built for. The problem is they've built such a stiff race car because they built the cockpit and the center section, the center clip of this race car so well and so strong in trying to prepare for those catastrophic accidents and not having something come and puncture the cockpit. Well, when you do that, when these drivers have other impacts, particularly the rear end impacts that we saw, when you have impacts like that, the energy is going to go to the weakest link, so to speak. And the weakest link is the driver's body. So I think, again, NASCAR has learned, okay, we did one thing right, but the flip side of that, the unintended consequence was we built such a stiff race car that drivers are taking impacts and feeling things more than they have in the past. So that certainly has to be corrected. And I think there was a misconception that NASCAR wasn't doing anything throughout the year, and they certainly were. I think maybe could they have done it a little faster? Could they have communicated that more? Who knows? But they're certainly working on it, and I think it'll be better in 2023, or at least I'm hopeful. So.
Kelly Crandall, again, racer.com, joining us here in the Freak Nation, covers NASCAR for Racer. And let's end it with this, because it was a heck of an ending for the NASCAR Cup and Xfinity season. I've never in my life, I've thought about this since then, if has anything occurred such as this, where a person, male, female, reaches the pinnacle of their sport or their business, and all of a sudden, bam, tragedy hits. And of course, we're talking about Ty Gibbs. And it was palpable on Sunday. We all felt it, that it was like, okay, we've got to go through this race. We see it. But has anything come out of that weekend outside of Ty Gibbs? Again, they're retiring the 18 for now, putting him in the 54 in the Cup Series. But from your point of view, has anything else come out of that weekend in Phoenix that maybe we didn't see or hear, that good, bad, or indifferent?
You know, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I went into Sunday, and just touching on Ty Gibbs and Coy Gibbs for a second. And the reason I'm glad you brought that up is because I'm glad that it wasn't just me, that it really changed. I won't say ruined, because that's not the right word, but it changed Sunday, right? I mean, like you said, it was like, okay, we still have to cover a race. But for me, I went into Sunday kind of like Christopher Bell, like all hyped up. We made it to the end of the year. This is going to be a great championship battle. And then you hear that news, and I just didn't care the rest of the day. And I wonder if, like you, that I did miss something, because I got to be honest with you, I kind of just wanted to go home. And I'm never like that at the racetrack, but it was such a change of emotion and perspective, and trying to cover a race after such an unexpected news story. So it's funny, again, that you say that, because I've kind of been sitting here the last 2 weeks wondering that myself, is what else was there about Phoenix that maybe got overshadowed a little bit? You mentioned Kyle Busch, and I think there probably would have been more on Kyle and his final race at Joe Gibbs Racing if, again, there wasn't the news of Coy, right? Because at that point, it just becomes about Coy and how everybody at Joe Gibbs Racing is feeling. So I wonder if that was a story. Other than that, I don't know. I feel like Joey and the 22 team, I feel like they got their due. I feel like they got their attention, but yeah, that definitely changed things. I think that definitely changed the narrative a little bit. And like I said, just speaking for myself, I just wanted to go home, and I don't know if I did my best work that day, to be honest with you. It took me a few days to kind of shake out of that. And it's not because I, knew Coy personally or anything. Obviously I knew him from covering the sport. And I think it was just because literally, 6 to 8 hours before, we all sat in that media center and listened to him talk about his son win the Xfinity Series championship. And then it's just so unexpected. So I don't know if I actually answered your question there, because that kind of sent me off on like I said, that really has thrown me these last couple of weeks. It really, really, really threw me.
Well, it's just that we're crushing Ty for a week.
The range of emotion.
Yeah, I mean, think about Ty Gibbs, right? I mean, the kid, and let's be, I mean, he's a kid. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's an adult, but let's be honest. In the grand scheme, he's a kid, right? He's still, I think we can all admit, he still has a long way to go in terms of his maturation and professionalism and so on and so forth. But he goes from a week of just hearing about everybody, right? From the fans, social media, fellow drivers, Hall of Fame drivers, like a Dale Earnhardt Jr. is asked about it because he's racing his 3 drivers for the Xfinity Series champion. So you go through all of that, you win the championship, and just, look at his celebration. I think that was truly a pure, genuine celebration for Ty. I think it was a weight off of his shoulders to accomplish that. And I know that it was really important to him. I'm sure, look, you guys were there. You heard him say in his press conference, it was very important for him to go out and have a clean race and a good race. And I look back at all of those highlights and those pictures of how happy he was and all the pictures with his team and Toyota and his family. And then, I mean, like I said, it hits you because I'm the type of person that I start imagining, like, my gosh, what was it like for him to get that news and who had to tell him that news? And my mind starts to spiral. And so, yeah, it's not about me at all, but I'm just saying it certainly, I don't know about anybody else, but it certainly threw me for a loop. And so maybe I need to sit here and get back on track and say, okay, what did we miss from Phoenix?
Yeah.
No, it's all of us. Our show that night was nothing but, oh my God, this kid just got his world ripped out from underneath him. And it's just not fair. It doesn't matter who you are. It's not fair. But who was the man always in his ear that entire week of us hammering him in the media and from other drivers? His dad. His dad was helping him through all that. His dad just helped him through one of the worst weeks of his life. And then it culminated with one of the best moments of his life. And then it's gone. And it's just not fair. It's shocking.
It's not. One of the things that I thought about I think it was Sunday, it might've been Monday, but I said, everything, it's so cliche, but everything truly happens for a reason. Right. And I think, Ty getting to make Cup Series starts this year and his family getting to see him do that and the success he had in the Xfinity Series and winning that Xfinity Series championship when, let's be honest, I don't think anybody wanted to see him win that championship other than maybe Ty Gibbs and Joe Gibbs Racing fans. Right. So I just feel like, everything happens for a reason. And it took me back to 2011 when Dan Weldon won the Indy 500. And I was like, man, I didn't want him to win that race. I wanted to see the rookie, the J.R. Hildebrand off turn 4. Like, come on, right? And then when Dan passed, when we lost Dan at the end of the year, I was like, everything happens for a reason. So that's what I've told myself with Ty is, he got to live the highs of, like I said, the Cup starts and all of his success in the Xfinity Series this year with his dad and his family. But it's just so unexpected and so sad.
Kenny, you brought up that same comparison.
Yes.
2011, Dan Weldon.
It's a given.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I want to go home. I just want to go home. It's just go home and hug my daughter.
And the whole happens for a reason thing. Yep. Kelly's a freak. See, that just proves she's a freak like us.
Kelly Crandall, a great follow on Twitter, even better read at racer.com with your NASCAR insight. Thank you.
Thank you enormously. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Kelly Crandall, again, racer.com, a great follow on Twitter for all of your NASCAR insight. Coming up in about 8 or 9 minutes, Jordan Anderson. Speaking of issues at the track, team owner and part-time Truck Series driver, Jordan Anderson. Remember the fiery accident with him in the truck? We'll talk to him about that and more. But first, Statman Scat.
The analytic world says the NFL underdogs are the hot number in the NFL this season. The numbers say the underdogs win 2 out of every 3 times against the spread. Odds like that are how they transform the southern Nevada desert into Las Vegas. But I've been saying that in motorsports all season. The old school winners are in the background baying at the checkered flags right now. The new school drivers have locked them in the cold in the backyard, listening to them bay. Fact 3 of NASCAR's Final 4 are under 30, youngsters in racing. In drag racing, the 2 queens of the sport, Erica Enders and Brittany Force, are both under 40. That's young for a sport where champions can dip into the 70s. The Freaks have seen several changes of the guard in our 20-plus years. Seems like we're in the midst of another. And for me, I love every minute of that green light. Peace.
Hey, Dad, what are you going to buy at the store today?
I'm out of Lucas Oil fuel treatment, so let's jump in here and grab us some.
Well, do they have the Lucas Oil parts cleaner and degreaser?
I bet they do.
Well, how about the Lucas Oil power steering fluid?
You know, they'll have that too.
Even the octane booster?
I won't be surprised if they do.
My favorite red and tacky grease?
Yes, they will, babe.
Dad, when we're done, can we grab some candy?
Deal, but you gotta share.
Awesome! Lucas works.
Crasher, we've been ordering from Omaha Steaks for so long now that we've influenced your family, including your mom. Just before Christmas, bam, right to our front door, we get those juicy steaks, tasty burgers, ready for the holiday season.
It's every season, and you know her favorite, and it's now mine too, chicken cordon bleu. I mean, it's so much more than steaks at omahasteaks.com. Chicken, appetizers, green bean casserole, broccoli gratin, corn. Oh my gosh, the variety is incredible. The quality is second to none, and the convenience?
It doesn't get any more convenient than omahasteaks.com. Use code FREAKS, FREAKS at your checkout and get $30 off your order.
omahasteaks.com. Check out with code FREAKS to be happy.
I could taste them right now. Omaha Steaks, ready to ship your order right away. So shop now. Beat the rush, man.
That's omahasteaks.com. Use promo code FREAKS to check out with $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required.
General Tire was born more than 100 years ago, right here in America. We've spent the last century tackling every kind of road this country has to offer, and especially the places without roads. So you know that with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
You're listening to Speed Freaks, Motorsports Radio Redefined.
Jordan Anderson joining us here in the Freak Nation, and it's good to have Jordan Anderson in the Freak Nation. We'll get to the fire and the significance of what happens, of course, in a minute, but I want to, this might be a little inside baseball, but Jordan was saying, bro, can you get a golf cart? We'll try to walk. He thought it'd be outside the stadium. No, we're about 75 yards from where he was. What'd you say? It's like an Austin Powers?
Austin Powers. So we literally drove all the way down, came back, and we ended up 10 feet from where it started. So we just got to, I'm sitting in the golf cart. I'm like, man, where is he taking me? I know there's a tunnel on the backstretch. And he's like, oh, yeah, we're going right there. So that's our day. That's our moment for today. We got that checked off.
That's awesome.
Greatness.
I kind of wondered that because we're real close to the garage area where you guys are. And I thought, okay, wow, he's really not doing well. I had to check on your accounts. I'm like, he looked like he's doing better.
I think the last time I was out here with Kazo, we were outside over in 3 and 4 at the stage. And I'm like, yeah, we're just going to go to the stage out there and hang out. Maybe y'all got it set up out there. I didn't think that you were literally like you said, 10 yards that way. So we went for a scenic tour. So no problem there. We got a little ride.
Well, regardless, Jordan Anderson is here in the Freak Nation, golf cart and all. And you showed me pictures of you just 2 weeks ago. Looking at you now, it looks like you might have just been out in the Phoenix sun a little too long. How have you healed that fast from those burns?
Yeah, it's something crazy. I've been racing since I was 7. And you ask any racer out there, what's your biggest fear? Typically fire. It's right there at it. And, you know, us NASCAR guys are a little probably different than the drag racers. I mean, they're so used to fire and they're around all that stuff. I mean, it's insane. But that was really, I'd blown motors and had some fire and stuff like that. But you look at where I'm at now, I mean, it's pretty amazing. A lot of answer prayers and had some good doctors at UAE and Wake Forest that took care of us, all the NASCAR guys. And, you know, looking at that before picture from about 2 weeks ago and seeing where I'm at now, it's pretty amazing how well everything's healed up. So the body's a great thing, a lot of answer prayers. And a lot of good hands. My wife was, you know, stepping foot, taking care of me that whole process. And that was kind of the 6-month mark of our marriage. I'm sure that's not how she had planned to spend that part of it. But the question that kept popping up was, is he going to look all right for our honeymoon this December when we go on it? So I think I'm back where I'm at least normal looking for the most part. Still got a couple things on my arm and my neck that are healing up, but all things considered, looking back on the video and what happened, just grateful to be here and glad everything's healing up. And I know that everything, looking back on the crash did its job to keep me safe. So just glad to be here today that we can smile and talk about it.
Yeah, seriously, looking at your face, there's so much energy in your eyes. I mean, yeah, this is kind of a renewed vigor for you. Like, hey, we got this, no problem. But talk about that fire, because you had a skirt off of your helmet. Was there something that wasn't quite tucked in right? Or I don't understand how your face got some burn.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of the crazy things looking back on it is the lap before going down the backstretch. I think I had gotten some in my eye, so I didn't shut my shield all the way.
Oh, wow.
And the skirt was basically a front skirt here, so I think some of it came up on the sides. So, looking at that and some of the stuff on my arm, I mean, it just got so hot in there that the suit, nothing burned through it, just that the radiant heat was just that hot. So kind of combination between that, the shield being up, probably didn't help any of that. So,
but that's just timing. That's unlucky timing.
It is. So the crazy thing was, it was a oil line got hit. They got a hole in it, basically emptied out the oil tank on the headers. And that's why the fire was just so hot and so big and came inside the truck there. But, it was one of those things where as a driver, you don't ever think about escape plans. You're just always trying to be aware of your car, your surroundings, what's going on. And as it got hot in there, I was like, I got to get out of here. Anything can't be worse than sitting here inside this truck. And that's when I threw the window net down and I popped out once and I'm like, no, I'm still on the track. So I went back in and then I kind of saw the wall. And I'm like, if I can time it right to hit the wall and be on my way out, at least I won't be going too fast there. So it was pretty surreal. And then looking back, we got the truck back from NASCAR. They took it back to the R&D center and looked over everything. And they came to the conclusion, everything did its job that was supposed to. And, but looking at the truck and seeing the burns and everything, it's pretty nuts. From Impact here today, like I'm an Impact guy for the rest of my life. Like if there was ever any doubt about it, I will be for the rest of my life now because everything did its job. But just a lot of answer prayers that, a second or two earlier, it could have been a different story of what we're talking about here today. But just definitely not the way I want to make the highlight reel, but just glad that I can sit here and we can talk about it.
Yes. Jordan Anderson joining us here in the FreakNation. And in case you missed it, we'll show you the video of his accident during this interview on YouTube and Facebook Live, where during the truck race, Jordan Anderson is in the truck, driving the truck. And one of the things that caught me by surprise was you're trying to get out of this truck as it's still moving, and here comes a wall.
Well, he said he purposely did that.
I know. I understand all that. When you see that happen, is it like, okay, I would rather have my hand or arm smashed by the wall and get a little bit burned, or have my freaking body burned, and then I'll get out once I stop?
Yeah, it's probably a testament to how strong adrenaline is. Oof. You ask any racer, adrenaline that's been in a crash or something, it just is off the wall even after a race. I mean, you get out of the car and it is, yes. And when it first happened, I think I was just more mad about it because we qualified good. We qualified ninth. We were running fourth with just a few laps to go in that stage there. So we were en route to a top 5 in that first stage, and motor blew and the motor didn't blow. I thought it blew, and I shut the motor off and slowing down. And there's 32 trucks behind me when this happened. So that's when I first popped out. I realized it kind of sunk in. I'm like, no, not just yet. And, as I'm getting it slowed down, I'm like, it's getting hot, and it's getting really hot. And then I saw the fire start to come in, and the trucks have a NACA duct on the right side. And we basically had a hose pointed to put fresh air in the truck at me. And so it was basically sucking fire in off the right side, coming out of that hose across me and out the driver's side window. And that's why it was so hot in that area right there.
You.
Yeah. So it's basically sucking in the right side, out the left side, and it just bring it all right by me. And that's why it got so hot and so intense so quick. So it was crazy. I knew the wall was coming, and I wish I could say that I was that athletic, that I planned it all to happen the way it did, but I just knew that I needed to get out of there. And I just counted as God's grace that the timing of everything worked out the way it did. But, a great question that you said, because it was just one of those things. I've never been in a situation where I've been around fire, had that kind of fire. And it just, whatever was on the outside of that truck couldn't have been worse than just sitting there inside of it at the time.
Do you have conversations like that? Because that brings up something like you try and anticipate all situations. Unlike, what, guys, if I'm on fire and there's a wall coming, should I get out before I hit? You don't have those kind of conversations, right?
No, I can't say that was going through my head. It was just, it's kind of the fight or flight survival mode you went into. It just like, I just got to get out of here. And, take it from, I've been doing this I'm 31 now. So I've been racing for, without showing my age too much, 21, 22 years now. And, being around it long enough and been in crashes. I mean, I think back to, I had a legend car catch on fire when I was like 13, and it was maybe going 20 miles an hour, but I rolled out of it in the infield grass. So, I mean, it was just kind of one of those things that you're around the sport enough, and you come into enough things that you just are aware of things. I mean, you think back in these cars or the trucks that we ran, I had on a cool shirt, so it's plugged in. I had my helmet, it's plugged in. Then I had the blower on my helmet. So I had 3 things that were tethers technically that could have kept me on top of the seatbelt. And as that thing's heading toward the wall, these trucks are set up that they're meant to go left. So steering wheel's off, and that's why you watch in the video it darts to left so quick, because I got the steering wheel off, I'm unbuckled, and I'm just trying to figure out how to either sit on the side of it or climb on the roof and let it come to a stop. But it happened in such slow motion as it was going on. You watch the video and it's like going quick and it's sideways spinning out, but thinking back on it, it was almost like slow motion.
Yeah, we've always heard that. Like you brought up drag racing earlier, we've heard that about guys in their top fuel rails. It's a 3.5 second run, but it's all slow motion of that. So yeah, when you're on fire, that is slow motion, because you're like, what can I do to get out of this? Let's talk about your year though. What a year. So your driver, Myatt Snyder, has a fiery crash in Daytona to kick off the year. Then you get married. Then you have a fiery crash. I mean, what else is going to happen this year?
Oh, you forgot about Martinsville crash.
Oh, and then oh, goodness gracious. Then the fight.
I was going to say,
fight with Austin Hill.
If you call Myatt's crash fight, Myatt's was, I don't know if that was fiery. That was car meet fence and motor end up 50 yards down the track. And I go back to, it's a testament to the safe cars that our guys. Yeah. I mean, you never have crashes. You don't want to be on that side of the highlight reel, but to have one of the biggest crashes in the Xfinity Series, one of the craziest things on the Truck Series happen, and both of us are here today to talk about it, is, I've definitely given all our guys in the shop a pat on the back. They put tough race cars and safe race cars, take that little part out of the equation, because I got no doubt in my mind to go back racing again next year. I'm not fearful about it. So just very proud of our guys that they've built some safe race cars this year, and all the people that we deal with apply stuff safe.
You have no doubt in your mind. I know your wife's been around racing, but what are the conversations with her?
That was so looking back on that day, it was kind of crazy. She was supposed to be running a marathon that day in North Carolina, and it got rained out. I said, hey, why don't you hop on the race day flight with all the pit crews and come on down here to Talladega? So she was there that day, a part of it. My dad was there. And John Bomry and all his guys were at Road Atlanta for the Petit Le Mans. So they actually came on down to the hospital. Everybody was down there. Her mom and dad were actually at the house when it happened. They hopped on an airplane in Charlotte to come down and meet me at the hospital. So to have everybody there meant quite a lot. And some of the discussions we had, that was she was like, how do you feel about it all? And I'm like, I want to take that truck. It's the front clip's not bent. It needs some body work on it. It melted the Bondo off of it, so it needs some mud work. But it would be pretty cool to take that truck back to Daytona next year and have maybe a redemption tour to come back at it.
That idea.
I think we might make a go at it. But it's tough. When I sat at home for 3 weeks after it, the mind is a crazy thing. You can either go down a path of, can't believe this happened. This is terrible. And I just kind of was like talking with her about it. I'm like, this is a part of my testimony. I'm still here. I mean, God's not done with me yet. And, how do we make something good come out of this? And it kind of tried to be that half glass full through that whole scenario. And for her and I, she's a counselor. That's her full-time job. And I said, so, thinking about this, and as tough and as painful as that burn process was, I said, this has kind of put lit something in me to go to some of these burn hospitals and see some of these kids and stuff that have fought through some of this stuff. Because it's hard you always figure out, how can you relate to people that are going through a tough time in life? And I'm like, here I am, I've gone through this, I've lived through this. How can we kind of help live back? And so that's kind of one thing she wants to help me work on next year is, to kind of be able to give back a little bit through some of this stuff. So it's trying to keep a positive attitude through all this stuff and find some good in it. And I think the biggest thing for me, I was so humble, because you work so hard your whole life. You want to be respected by people. You want people to like what you're doing. And the amount of people that reached out and, either a text or a phone call or came by the house through all this stuff, I was humbling is probably one of the words that comes to mind, because there were people that in the garage that I didn't think liked me that were sending me a text message like, hey man, hope you're getting better. If there's anything I can do for you. So I think it speaks volumes about the NASCAR community, how tight we are. And we may, go nose to tail and race each other as hard as we can every week, but in the day, you don't ever want to see anybody go through a tough time. So that was pretty cool and pretty humbling to see how many people reached out and, just reached out to see if there's anything they could do to help. So that was pretty cool.
Do you have a charity right now?
I don't.
There you go.
So
burn victims.
You just never know.
His race team.
Burn victims.
He's raising money for his race team.
Right. Well, okay, there is that. Oh, that charity.
Buddy, thanks for doing this.
Yep. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Freak Nation, we're going to wrap this bad boy up. You missed any of the show, go to speedfreaks.tv. That's the website, Freak Nation. A crap ton of video, audio for you to watch, to listen to. You missed any show, any part of this show, any shows of the last decade, we'll have it up there for you. Go to speedfreaks.tv. That's speedfreaks.tv. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and of course on Twitter.
How much is a crap ton?
Very good question.
What side of the Mississippi are you on, Stat?
I'm on the south side of Mississippi.
Okay, you're in the Bay.
Bay, yeah, right.
All right, you're a big fin Cadillac. That's a big fin Cadillac. That's a crap ton. All right.
All right.
Crap ton west of the Mississippi. That's a 2005 Prius. All right.
Oh, didn't expect that.
I didn't either, Crash. I expected him to go to Skyline or Corvette mid-engine or something.
Oh, the fact that Skyline came out of your mouth, that is awesome.
Hey, we had one on Wilshire Boulevard at midnight one night. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, we've had a lot of things on Wilshire Boulevard coming out of that studio. Oh, we had to be quarantined a few times coming out of that studio. All right, Freak Nation. Right. Thank you guys for being a part of this. Have a very, very happy Thanksgiving week.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk to you again coming up, in December with a live show. Shoot the juice to the moose and Statman.
Cut it loose.
Yep.